Which Side Podcast is a proud member of the Which Side Media Collective.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Which Side Media Collective. Right now, all gift cards are 25% off.
So if you whip out your fancy calculator and do the math here, that means if you decide to purchase $1,000 gift card, it would only cost you, get this, $750.
That math is too hard for me, but I do know that if you got a $10 gift card, that would only make it $7.50.
This is true as well, but would you rather save $2.50 or $250?
I'd rather save $250 for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does that make $1 million gift card?
Shit, that math is so hard. 750,000.
750,000.
Jesus Christ, I can't believe that.
Which, that's $250,000 saving.
It's $250,000 saving. Who doesn't want to save $250,000?
I mean, I know I would.
I would.
I don't even have $250,000. So if I saved that, it would be great. You could do that now by using promo code GiftCard25 when checking out and getting a gift card. The Which Side Media Collective store.
Gift Card 25 for all of your $1 million purchasing needs for this season.
For the holiday season, you know, you got a lot of gifts to give to people. And
$1 million.
That $1 million will go really far on our store. WhitSideCollective.org. Promo code GiftCard25.
This is episode 211.
Yeah, we talked with Robin Raven, author of the book Santa's First Vegan Christmas.
It is an adorable book. If you have anyone in your life who is a kid or is a Christmas person, vegan or not, you should get him this book. It's fantastic. So stick tuned for that interview. Plus, in that interview, you get to read a book, get to hear a book report by a 10-year-old. Hey, Jordan, what news and events do you have going on?
People should start preparing for their local January 20th actions. I know that a lot of people are going to be going to Washington, D.C. specifically, but there's also a lot of local actions in areas, so find a local action near you. If there's not one, you can always start one. You still have plenty of time, January 20th.
Make sure to do a little bit of research on some proper self-care inside of those. Some things you always want to keep with you as far as, you know, how to protect yourself from mace, how to protect yourself in general, how to make sure you stay in groups, you know, just the general how-to of large-scale protests. Be safe out there, y'all. For the slingshot this week, December 4th, 1969. That's when the Black Panther leader Fred Hampton was killed by the Chicago police. Fun fact, he was in his bed.
Some fucked up shit.
God damn it, I know. Do you like these little tidbits of history? I pulled them out of the Slingshot Personal Organizer. Right now is the perfect time to get your shit organized. You can get one at a local info shop or an online info shop like AK Press.
Really hope you enjoy this episode.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side? Which side are you on? 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 Which side are you
So just to let you know, I apologize. I have a new dog that has lots of anxiety, so if you hear him, he's like right here.
Oh, okay.
So just apologize up front if you start hearing him go a little crazy.
Oh, no problem. How cool.
So how's your day going?
Oh, it's going pretty well. Pretty well. I actually slept in. So. How about you? Are y'all having a good day?
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I wish I could sleep in, though. I never get to sleep in anymore.
Oh, no.
So what is that actually like, to be able to sleep in?
Why can't you sleep in?
Because I don't write vegans' children's books.
I prefer, I'm a night owl, so I enjoy when I get sleep in. If I can't sleep in, then I'm kind of zombie-ish because I'm always awake at night.
So do you have a late night last night? What was the big plans?
Oh, just writing, nothing exciting. I was home, writing, watching Christmas movies. No exciting story to tell there.
So Christmas movies. What is your go-to Christmas movie?
A Very Brady Christmas.
Really?
My all-time favorite Christmas movie. What about you? What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Full-on Elf for me. I fucking love Elf.
Love that. That's a great one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't. Maybe A Christmas Story?
Jordan's a curmudgeon. I don't even think he likes Christmas at all.
Not really.
Well, maybe Dana the Reindeer will change that.
Yeah. So speaking of that, like, what brought you to actually writing this Christmas book?
I'm actually very much a Christmas enthusiast, and during the holiday season of 2011, I was watching a lot of holiday movies, and I was looking at a lot of Christmas art, and I noticed that there's this casual violence within the Santa world, and there's in the depictions of Santa Claus in a lot of art, he's depicted with a whip. And the paintings and drawings often show Santa Claus, with a whip about to land on a reindeer and hit the reindeer. He's supposed to be, such a hero, and it just seemed that this was an accepted part of the season, that these otherwise good guys and heroes like Santa Claus didn't seem to think twice about abusing the non-human animals in the different stories, and that's sadly how how things are in the real world. And so, to make a long story short, I was kind of taken aback by the mistreatment and abuse of animals in the different Christmas stories, and so I've always had a compassion for animals and related to them, and it brought to mind times in my own life when I've encountered injustice, and so the character of Reindeer was kind of born. I was inspired to write her, and I wrote Dana as a sweet, strong reindeer who wanted to open Santa's eyes to how animals feel. But she's mostly a fun character, and she stands up for herself and others without hesitation, and she's kind of the hero of the story, even though Santa gets title credit.
So what is the process of going from, I have this idea, I want to write this book, to this book being created and put out into the world?
Actually, I wrote it during the holiday season of 2011, and I didn't submit it to a publisher until 2014. So it was a long time. I was really inspired, and I wrote it within a week, I would say, probably. And then not getting the rewrites and things. And so I came across Vegan Publishers in 2014, and I thought, wow, the story that I wrote would probably be a perfect fit for this company. And I've always wanted to get it out in the world. I had a feeling I really wanted to do something with it. I just didn't know what. And so I submitted it, and happily they accepted it. And here we are today. The book was released this year.
So during that time frame where you wrote it and then didn't submit to any publishers, was that just because you didn't know if any publisher would submit it, or what really caused that delay?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't asked that. That's a very good question. I think it was mostly that I wasn't thinking of, any kind of viability. I was just inspired to write this story, and I never knew what would happen with it. So I think it took me a while, and just not being able to get this story out of my heart and my head, that I felt like I had to submit it to a publisher.
Was this the first book you've written?
Well, it's the first book I've had traditionally published, but I've been, the very first novel I wrote, I was actually 7 years old, so I've been writing for a long time. Wow. But yes, it's my first traditionally published book, so I'm very excited.
Do you typically, for those other books that you write, do you typically distribute them online, or do you just kind of keep them to yourself, or how's that work?
Yeah, I've kept most to myself. I've just now having the confidence to start submitting all my work, and I have a few other things in progress with some other projects in progress with different companies. So I should have news for you soon regarding other publications. So I'm excited about that. And I did self-publish one book called Next Stop Nina. It's a novel, and it's available now on Amazon, and you can special order it in bookstores.
So these new projects, are they more children's books?
Both. I have a novel in the works and also a couple of children's book projects. So, and you haven't heard the last of Dana the reindeer.
So I mean, I absolutely love that. So I have a 10-year-old girl, and when she was born, it was like ridiculously crazy trying to find good books for her that included a vegan message, right? And so we would have to like change stories as we read them to her, or just completely do other things to try to have that bonding and have that experience of reading with her, but also trying to instill that vegan message at the same time.
Oh, that's a good idea to switch the stories around. But yeah, I'm so glad. I appreciate that Vegan Publishers is publishing vegan children's stories. And yeah, I'm so excited to get the message out there for vegan parents.
What do you find it hard to like have that balance between having a good message and being too preachy to a kid? Do you know what I mean by that?
Absolutely, yes. And I didn't set out to be too preachy at all. It wasn't my point or what I wanted to do with the story. But yeah, it's definitely something I thought about. And in the rewrites of the book, I think I did soften it a little bit. And yeah, I focused first on the story, and then because I know animal rights and veganism is so close to my heart, sometimes it comes out in the characters I imagine in my head. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how this was. I just sort of imagined this little strong reindeer standing up for herself. So I hope it doesn't come across as preachy. It wasn't my intention, so hopefully not.
Oh, no, it didn't at all. And that's kind of like what I really liked about it. What was, it's this really strong message, but it's not even like a super strong, this is a animal rights message. This is just, a compassion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I struggle with that in my daily life of just having that balance. So trying to write a children's book, I would fail miserably because I'd just be like, just go vegan. Like,
right. Absolutely. And some of the writing that I have, it's more kind of more subtle, like in the novel that I wrote that I had published, the main character is vegan, but it's not, a main story, part of this main storyline. So it's it comes out in different ways in different stories.
I love it when they're not even really like part of the plot of stories. Yes. Where it just happens to be, right? Where a character just happens to be vegan, or they happen to be an activist, or they happen to live in a world where, plant-based is the norm instead of the alternative, right?
Yes, I love that. And like I even noticed in horror movies, like when someone's a vegan, like, Rob Zombie's a vegan, and he made the character in the Halloween. I don't know if you saw the Halloween remakes that he did, but he made the main character a vegetarian, and they talk about it in the story and all. I always notice it like in movies and stuff too, and the people are vegan. It's always like, oh.
I didn't know Rob Zombie was vegan.
Yeah, he is. He's an animal rights person, and so I guess he puts that in his stories a little bit too.
That is really interesting. I'm surprised that that's one I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's great.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like not somebody that you wouldn't necessarily expect, right?
Yeah, totally. I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah, I totally didn't know that. So what you said, animal rights and veganism are really close to your heart. So like, what is your origin? Like, what brought you towards animal rights and veganism in general?
Well, I always loved animals from my earliest memory. I always felt so connected with them. I always felt like I could relate to them, if that makes sense. And I always had a lot of empathy for animals. And so I became vegetarian when I was a kid, just out of love of animals. I didn't want to eat them. And
was there like a moment like that you can recall of what made you go vegetarian at such a young age?
It was a few different things. My dad had been a hunter, and so I grew up with deer heads on the wall kind of thing, like not a vegetarian home. And I think it was making a connection in that way. I think that had a lot to do with it too. I had seen animal abuse, and I realized that I just wanted to stand completely against that, and I wanted to stand up for animals. And I recently went vegan. More recently, I was a vegetarian for most of my life, and I wish I had gone vegan earlier. Now I'm gonna be vegan forever now. But
so what precipitated that change from vegetarianism to veganism recently?
Oh, really realizing what was going on. I kind of had a general idea for a long time that I should be vegan, and I had tried and failed. But when I really realized what was going on with the dairy and egg industry, then that was it.
So what made you realize? I've always been curious about people who are ethical vegetarian, but then they don't have that distinction, right? Like they don't understand like the horrors of these other industries. So what really made that connection for you?
I think it's people sharing online and having discussions online with people, and then doing more research and doing more reading on my own. So I think going vegetarian was more about just the realization in general about how we shouldn't use animals, and then veganism was the full realization of that.
That's interesting that you say having online conversations is what helped you, because I very rarely ever see anything positive coming out of those type of online social media interactions, right?
Right.
So
true.
So what about that helped you? Because I usually view that kind of world right now as, maybe this is just because I'm old. Like that's totally fair, but kind of like a cesspool almost. Like I just kind of want to stay the fuck out of.
No, I agree with you. I my rule is now to avoid the comment section of things.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always so depressing to read, especially with all that's happened in the past month. And so, it was in private conversations, not necessarily like debating on websites or Facebook, but private conversations, because I have a lot of vegan friends, and being open to hearing it. I think it's really important I think that's one of the things also that hinders people from becoming vegetarian and vegan. If they haven't been their whole lives, it's like kind of, I think they maybe feel like someone's telling them that the way they've been living their life all along is wrong. And I think that's really hard to hear. You have to have a certain level of, humility to be able to say, I could be wrong and reassess things. I think people dig in their heels because they don't want to hear that what they're doing is wrong.
So how can we have those type of conversations in the anonymous setting of the internet and actually have it be more positive? Was it, because it sounds like for you, it was already intimate conversations. It wasn't really like anonymous. There's more private conversations, right?
Right. Exactly.
So how can we make it to the general public and not be so assholey? Right? I guess maybe that's...
That's a good question. I think some people that are having luck with doing that now is the Esther the Wonder Pig page. Have you seen that?
I haven't. Jordan has.
I think they do a great job of I think they've touched a lot of hearts and get people to consider veganism, even though they don't use the word veganism all that much. They're both vegan, and they rearrange their life to accommodate this adorable Esther the Wonder Pig, and they have this really fun page, and I think they engage people in a really fun way to get them interested in veganism. But as far as more in-depth conversation about the issues, that's a very good question. I think we have to consider where people are coming from when discussing it, and I also think that people get a lot of validation for the practices and traditions that hurt animals. It's socially acceptable to do all kinds of horrible things to animals, but then when people see it happening to dogs, or in other cultures, then suddenly they see how wrong it is, because we know that dogs are sentient from our own relationships with them, Mm-hmm. And I think since most people eat meat and other animal products, they, don't feel compelled to examine their choices since, everyone else is doing it. And they don't want to hear something that will challenge the way that they're already living. So I think just stating the truth in without necessarily judging their choices, or I think that can help, hopefully.
So is this Wonder Pig on, I'm assuming, Facebook?
Yes, and they're really hilarious. They post pictures of her with these little funny captions, but then they will do serious posts too and talk about animal rights. I don't know if you heard about that recent accident in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yes, they did a really, I think, a really important post, and they took pictures of that incident because they wanted to take the pigs to their sanctuary and offered to, and the people were horrible, and they refused that, and they went and they killed the pigs, and it was terrible. But they made some serious posts and really got the word out about that, and I think that's important.
For anyone who doesn't know what that is, would you mind going into that a little bit?
Let's see. Sure, I don't know all the details. Give me a second. Okay, so in October of this year, there was this pig accident in Toronto where 100 pigs survived the crash, and they were marched into the slaughterhouse, which the crash happened, I guess. It's the Fearman's pork plant. They were about to turn into that slaughterhouse when the accident happened. Mm-hmm. And Derek and Stephen, who were Esther the Wonder Pig's dads, they were there, and they were offering to help the surviving pigs, and many other people were trying to help the pigs, and they wouldn't let them. And
are they part of the Toronto Pig Save?
I believe so. I believe they
yeah.
sing too. I believe so. So
pigs are amazing.
Yeah, but it breaks my heart that things like that happen, and then I guess that really puts it in front of people to really realize what's going on, though. Mm-hmm. And so they use their voice to do serious issues, and they also attract people with the fun, lighthearted side of having a pig.
So with you being vegan for a relatively short period of time, what deterred you from being vegan previously? What was your view of vegans or animal rights activists prior to becoming one?
I saw myself as an animal rights activist who is a vegetarian, which I guess is, doesn't quite mix. But I total respect for vegans, and I had tried to go vegan before. I just didn't realize the seriousness of it and how important it was and how inconsistent it was to not be.
So you said you tried to go vegan once before, but had challenges with it. Is that right?
Yes, I tried to go vegan a few times, before I actually did.
Yeah, what were those challenges that you had, and then how did you overcome them this last time?
Well, I think being fully educated made it where those things were no longer challenges. But I think just, it was, this sounds terrible to say, but it was good. I don't cook, and I always just eat on the go, and it was
like convenience.
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, and I just didn't fully realize how important it was.
Yeah, that's not terrible. I mean, I know a lot of people who fall into that, right? Where they honestly don't know what to do. Like, they're like, well, yes, I agree with this, but I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to have a balanced diet. I don't know any of these things, right? So they just fall back into their status quo.
Yeah.
So what got you through that, just to help other people who are in that same situation?
Well, I think that, as I said, once I really realized why it was so important and how terrible the dairy and egg industries were, even, the backyard stuff and all that, it's all terrible. I think it was just once I made the commitment, it's not as difficult as it seems. It's actually not difficult at all. Like, to me, being vegan right now is really easy. It's just once you make that transition and you really realize that it's really not so hard. But I think, that's probably one of the best ways to get people to go and stay vegan is to make it as easy as possible, and to make them realize that it doesn't have to be so hard. Like, I think I was anticipating that it would be so hard when I had tried it before. And and really, once you give it a chance, it's not. There's a friend of mine, Jackie Day, recently had a book published called The Vegan Way. And I think it was really helpful for new vegans, gives a lot of helpful information for your first, transitioning into veganism.
I always like to tell people the hardest part about being vegan is to make the choice of being vegan. Like, once you make that choice, it's not that hard. Like, once you make that commitment, right?
Exactly. You're so right. I found that to be true too.
But you have to, it has to be at that commitment. It has to be at that level of like, no, I'm committing to doing this. And, then it's usually not too hard. So from my experience, at least, once you hit, quite a few years in, it's just easy. And then, above 15, you don't even think about it.
Yeah. You've been vegan for 15 years?
I'm a little over 20.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Did you find it difficult at first?
I was very, very young when I went vegan. I know Jordan was pretty young as well. So the difficult part for me was that my family wasn't. So, here, let me grab him.
Okay. It's fine.
Yeah, so that was the difficult part for me. And I don't know if Jordan had the same thing, but because I just made the choice at such a young age that it was just more, and to be honest, part of it was the choice was to be defiant of my parents, right? Like, so it made me dig my heels in even more. But the hardest thing was my parents said they wouldn't make special meals for me. So I went vegetarian at 11 and vegan at 13. So
cool.
I started cooking at 13 because I wouldn't be able to eat.
Wow, that's really amazing.
So,
that is so cool.
Yeah. And Jordan's story is pretty similar.
Yeah. I think the only exception is partly was to be cool as well, because
it
was that cool thing to do in the punk scene or whatever else. You always hear about the vegans or the vegetarians.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love to hear stories like that. I mean, it's so young to be an independent thinker and doing things your own way. That's awesome.
It was challenging.
Yeah.
So what has been like? Has there been any surprises for you for actually becoming vegan?
I think how exactly easy it is. I mean, there are alternatives for everything now. You don't have to go without. The vegan stuff is often better than the real thing. I went vegetarian as a child, so I barely even remember the taste of meat. I don't miss it at all. I've eaten, meat alternatives for so long that that's what I love. So, I think how easy it is because, I think you can have this idea in your head that's going to be so challenging and I think a lot of people are really accepting of it too, more so nowadays than ever, which is nice.
What is your go-to meat alternative? I'm always curious.
I guess one of the ones I love lately is Guardian and tofurkey. I love sliced tofurkey. That's my favorite for sandwiches. And I like the Guardian. I don't know if you had it, like the little individual little roast that they have.
Yes, the breaded one.
Yeah,
I like that one too. That's actually pretty good. I haven't had it for a while though, but that one is really good.
Yes.
You tend to get the Guardian packs of like whatever.
Oh,
is,
like what do they call them? Like the individual bites, whatever.
Yeah, where they have the different flavored ones, like the mandarin.
Oh,
and
yes.
all
Yeah.
those other things.
The pre-made packages.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just easy.
They are easy. They're
So
so
good.
freaking easy.
They are.
Crazy.
They are. I love that. I love that they're so easy too, because I don't like to cook too much. I like things simple.
Simple is the best. No, I love that you brought up the tofurkey slices, because that's one of the things we do for our daughter a lot. Is we make her own little Lunchables. So you have like the tofurkey slices, and then you get like some Daya slices, and then some crackers. And yeah,
That's a great idea. I feel like I have when it comes to food, I have the taste of a vegan 5-year-old. So I'm like very intrigued by that. That sounds really good. I might start doing that.
it's pretty good, and there's nothing wrong with having that taste, because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, you find a good vegan mac and cheese, and that is the best.
Yes. Have you tried Leah's mac and cheese, vegan mac and
I don't
cheese?
think I've heard of
No,
that.
I've never even heard of that one. Where
it's-
is that regional or?
It's so good. I get it from Vegan Essentials. I haven't actually seen it in any stores, but it's so good. It's kind of, really, really good. I recommend it.
I think I've tried most of the box brands and the package brands that are available now.
Yeah, and I really don't do any of the packages. I always make it myself now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I have a hard time finding a good one. a good mac and cheese.
But I like the Daya packets that are like creamy and not the powdered kinds. That they have like the already melted cheese that you just squeeze into the mac.
Wait, they have those?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that. That sounds good. I have not tried that. I haven't
they're
seen
the
it.
best. They're the best.
Wow. I'm going to totally look for that next time I go to the store. That sounds great.
That does sound great. That totally sounds great, actually.
Yeah.
Do that with some like Boca chicken nuggets or something, and
Oh.
you got yourself a meal for a 5-year-old.
That's perfect for me. I could live on vegan junk food. It's bad. I'm trying to be more health-minded, though.
What do you mean, can? I do. Like, this is not... this is my life.
Works for me.
I have more chips in my closet than I think anyone should ever own.
That's great. I like the vegan pirate booty, too. Have you ever tried that?
Yes.
I used to get the tings. I didn't know there was a vegan pirate booty.
There's
though.
a vegan pirate booty. The tings were amazing, but then they started putting not as much nooch in them.
Yeah.
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 I'm like a nooch fanatic. I love nutritional yeast.
I just got back from Mexico, and they put hot sauce on potato chips, and it's like the best snack ever now, and I just keep eating it.
Like,
Interesting. I've never tried that.
So like Valentina or Tapatio,
so it'd be very vinegary. So yeah, but I like vinegar
and
chips.
you just shake it up in the bag.
Wow. That sounds really good. I'm going to try that, too.
I'm gonna do that
I'm getting
right
hungry
after.
now.
Yeah. Well, to get back on track, if you don't mind. So, my daughter read your book, and then she, because she's a 10-year-old, and this is how she, comprehends books. She made a little book report
Oh,
based off
how
of it.
cool.
So, if you don't mind, do you mind if I read part of it to you to see?
I would absolutely
what
love
she
to
said?
hear it. I would
Okay.
absolutely love to hear the whole thing. Yes, that's awesome.
Okay, so it's called Santa's First Vegan Christmas. Santa seems really nice, but when you think about it, he doesn't care about animals at all. He just locks them up and doesn't let them be free. But in this book, it makes him seem a lot nicer than he really is, and I think it may change his mind. When all the reindeer were dancing, I wonder what they were thinking. Were they happy, sad, mad, frustrated, grumpy? If all the reindeer flew Santa's sleigh, when they die, what's going to happen? So if they don't fly this sleigh, are cows going to? Everybody thinks that it was the reindeer's idea to fly the sleigh, but really, it's just Santa's idea. I mean, like, sure, he's a nice guy to humans. A couple years ago, people didn't believe in Santa, so he got some reindeer and said, "You will run my sleigh." That is how reindeer started flying sleighs. That's just rude. Not exactly rude, but just means he's a terrible guy. He gives presents, but not to reindeer. He's just selfish. That's her book report.
I love that. That's awesome. That's well said. She did a great job. Tell her, thank her for running that. I really like that. And I think she's right. Right? I think that things are changing though, and Santa's changed this year. So he's gone back on his animal using ways, and he's totally committed to the veganism now.
So being a Christmas connoisseur, if you will, what is your go-to for veganizing a Christmas for people?
That is a very good question. Like I said, I'm kind of a junk food vegan. I do all the store-bought stuff. Like I do tofurkey. I love tofurkey roast, and Guardian has a really great roast. And I read that Trader Joe's does now too. I haven't tried that. But like I get the commercial vegan roast, and veganizing pumpkin pie is actually really easy.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, which you don't think about. That was always my favorite part of the Christmas dinner. So I think of that. And, you can even get vegan dressing, even the convenient kind. Just add like vegetable broth and vegan butter and good to go. So there are a lot of different vegan dishes for the holidays. You don't have to go without it. If you can think of anything that you love about the holiday dinner, like it could be made in a vegan way, which is awesome.
You brought up the pumpkin pie, and I want to share my newly discovered amazing secret about making pie crusts.
What's that?
If you're making a traditional pie crust like you do with like most pumpkin pies, substitute the water with ice cold vodka.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah, so it evaporates out of the dough a lot quicker, which makes it flakier.
That sounds really good. That's an awesome tip. I'm going to try that.
But does it get you drunk?
No. That's too bad. Yeah, no drunk. I mean, you could add a little bit of vodka, add some water, and then take a couple shots. I mean, that would get you drunk, right?
Little adventurous cooking.
I mean, and if you're making a ginormous meal, you should be taking shots in between cooking, because that's the responsible way of cooking.
The only way to cook.
Yeah.
Stay chill for the holidays. If the non-vegan family are coming over.
And stuffing is like a go-to. I eat it year round. It's just
God, good. I always have stuffing.
Yes, me too. They're good.
So
anything carby.
Yes.
Yeah.
For
that's
sure.
the best thing about like the traditional Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner is it's just carbs. It's just
Yes.
plate of beige.
Yeah. Carbs and vegan butter. That is like my life.
Yes. Me too. People act like Thanksgiving's all about the turkey, but no.
To tell you how bad I am, I calculated how much vegan butter I used on Thanksgiving, and it was 2.5 pounds.
Kidding me?
For 2.5 fucking pounds.
Well, it's a holiday, right?
Exactly. Between like all the pies and 2.5 pounds. Ridiculous.
So worth it though.
But yeah, it's true. It's so worth it. So one of the things I like to ask people is, given the entire animal rights scene right now, what is something you see going on that you wish would just kind of stop?
I would say, just among the vegan scene, I think infighting, if that makes sense. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think vegans attacking other vegans always makes me sad, if that makes sense. So I don't know. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean that is when we hear a lot. When you say infighting, though, do you have like a specific example of infighting? Like one of the ones that I have a really hard time with is the current discrediting of animal rights activists by other animal rights activists because they don't fall within their certain animal rights activist theme. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Mm-hmm. What you're saying, that's terrible. Yeah. I think that, there are valid ways of, standing up for animals, and not everyone is doing it in the same way, and not everyone responds to the same message, and there's room for a lot of different ideas and different actions, as long as we're not harming others. So I think calling any specific people out or any specific instance out, but just
feel free to call people out. It's not a problem.
But I think that I just, what I try to do is I focus on what it is that I can do and what message I want to send and what actions I want to be taking, rather than spending my time on criticizing the other activists for what they're not doing quite right. And I don't think any of us, have all the answers. So I think it's just better to just focus on what we can do rather than attack others.
I think that's the main thing is if it's not harming anyone, I think that a lot of people will criticize other actions that they necessarily don't agree with, but as long as it's, not harming another group.
I think there's room to have valid discussions on tactics, right? But
yes,
I don't think that's what these end up being. It's more or less, I don't agree with your tactics, so you are equivalent to an animal abuser. And that's what I see happening a lot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You're worse for the movement than McDonald's.
That has actually been said to my face. So.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Well, I mean, it's true.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It was said by me.
And it was over a game of Monopoly. So, I mean...
Now we're getting into some infighting.
So on the flip side, is there anything that you wish you saw happening more? Like maybe it's something that you don't have a specialty in or you don't have the time to dedicate to, but just something you wish you saw happening inside the movement, whether that's a tactic or focusing on a certain campaign or something like that?
That's a good question. I think more...
I was gonna say for me, if you want, I've always had an affinity towards fur campaigns, and over the years, that the animal rights movement has switched from vivisection and fur to mainly dietary, right? So more of the animal agriculture side of it, and I always kind of wish that not that the dietary would have less of a focus, but we could get more back into the furs and the vivisection side of it. And not that people aren't. I'm not saying that at all. So please don't take it that way. But it used to be the forefront of the movement in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that would be great. And I think more of that would be great, and more. I think more, just having open and honest, non-judgmental dialogues with people about animals and their sentience, because the scientific community has pretty much established that animals are sentient, and I still don't think that most people really fully grasp that, or I don't think they could continue to eat meat and, support all these abusive animal industries.
So how do we go about doing that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that that's a very good point and good question. Now it's something I want to do a lot of thinking about, exploring.
And then, how do we, and this is something that I've always struggled with, and so I'm just voicing this out loud, is just, when you talk to people, there's a big difference between people not having an understanding of what the industry is or how animals are treated, right? And then there's the people who completely understand and choose not to care. And it's, how do you approach that segment, the people who choose not to care? It's a frightening thought. I don't know. I don't know. I think keep informing people if possible, but I don't know how to go in a conversation from there if someone just says that they don't care. I mean, where do you go from that? I mean, I don't know. And maybe for me, it's a frustration because that is my mom, right? And so it's just like, fuck. Sorry, I don't know another way of saying it. It's just it's
fine.
For so many years, and I'll have these conversations and she's like, yeah, I know, yeah, it's bad, I just don't care. And there's like a brick wall, like you can't move past that.
I think maybe it's being desensitized to it and not fully letting people don't want to fully really look at it. Like they want to hear it, but they don't really want to let that in. Maybe, I don't know. So you just kind of reach the point where you have to agree to disagree. With her, I guess. Yeah.
I was gonna say or murder, but that's.
I feel like the desensitization also happens on the animal rights end, though, too.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
I remember for a long time I was completely desensitized to like graphic footage of like animal slaughter and abuse because I had just been presenting it so much.
You kind of get used to it, right? Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I can't look at that. I have to, hide feeds that show graphic violence, and I understand why people show it, and I fully support, investigations and showing that to people, but I can't look at it because it'll just really affect me. It'll make me like so depressed, and I can't. I'm overly sensitive about it.
And I can't anymore, even though I was desensitized at a point. Like, it's still now it's disturbing again.
Yeah, because like I got to that point, and then so I personally eliminated it from my life. I purposely didn't watch videos. I didn't watch investigations. Like I already know. And then recently, I ended up watching another one, and I was like, oh shit! Like I still do have the feels, right?
Oh yeah.
It was very very interesting because I know I'm a little different than a lot of other activists, where I'm not an animal lover by any stretch of imagination. I'm not an animal hater. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't like. I'm not vegan or an animal rights activist because I have an emotional connection with animals, because that's not true. And I can form those connections. It's not like I'm a sociopath or anything. It's just that I just approach it from it's a wrong standpoint. So it's wrong. I do it, But yeah, so being able to have those feels was like, oh yeah, you're not a sociopath.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you know what happened to make it to where that you were desensitized and then you weren't?
Frequency, maybe?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it probably went from, tabling and presenting several times a week for years on end to purposely not viewing any of that for years. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting what we can get desensitized to.
Yeah, it is.
It's the only way I can wrap my head around people who have to work in the industries, like especially like in slaughterhouses.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like battery hens or anywhere these facilities. You work inside of a furrier. I think that's the only way they can comprehend it. And I know PTSD is very common inside of these industries as well because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that it's partially like them thinking it's the right thing to do. For like example, a vivisectionist who does tests on these dogs, but then goes home and has a dog as a companion pet at the house. Like, how do you disassociate the ones that you're testing on to the one that is a family member?
Yeah, interesting.
And for the most part, the conversations that I've had, which are more or less yellings, not conversations, right? Is just that they totally believe it's for the greater good, right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of vivisection. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah. There you go.
And then you have people that have changed that. Like I've read several stories of people who used to own slaughterhouses or own dairies that have changed and are now vegan.
I think probably the biggest one for me is Jerry Vlasic. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the vivisectionist that is now like an advocate for animals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they give me hope, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people have an amazing capacity to change.
So how do you yourself maintain self-care and not get overly depressed with how much suffering is actually out there?
Yeah, that is a really big one for me, and it's been really difficult. I have struggled with that a lot because I have depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, actually. Mm-hmm. So I take self-care very seriously, and a lot of that is related to animal stuff. So I set boundaries, which are difficult, but I can't look at any violent imagery, like we were saying earlier. And it still comes up because I make new vegan friends, and, I'm connecting with vegan pages, and I really try to do all that I can to help animals. So I still do get exposed to it, but I try to minimize it as much as possible. And I do also try to make an effort to look at good, positive stories of, things have changed, and things I think are changing for the better, even though it seems like a really depressing time for this country right now with all that's happened in November. But I do think overall things are changing for the better. I think we're heading into a better place, and I think that every one of us can make a difference with all the different actions that we take. So I think I just try to focus on the positive as much as possible, and limit the things that I know, knowing myself enough to know what really upsets me, and staying away from that.
It's interesting that you brought up the U.S. election here, and it makes me very curious to see how activism changes over the next 4 years. We saw a huge change in activism due to the Patriot Act. And then the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act, right?
Yeah.
And so then I'm wondering, how is that going to change? How is it going to become more draconian? How is it going to become worse? Or is it just going to maintain the status quo of already being pretty fucking bad, right?
Right. Yeah, I think we're at a really scary time, but I think more than ever it's important for people to stand up and voice what's going on, and not be silent about things. And it's hard though, because if you every time you see something that upsets you, it seems in the news today, you'd be posting about it every single day or every hour, and it's like, I don't know. I think that it's also really important to keep other issues in mind too. I think they're interconnected in more ways than we realize. I don't think one issue, facing the world is independent of the other. So I think the case for animal rights stands alongside other forms of prejudice as an issue that needs to be addressed. So I think that, having prejudice against people for any reason is wrong, and really important to talk about now more than ever too. So
that is one thing. Like, we were talking about things we wish we saw. That is one thing I wish I saw a lot more of as well. Is animal rights activists acknowledging the interconnectedness of these social justice movements, right? And be more willing to be true allies, right? Not just saying, yes, I agree with, but yes, I'm going to take the same risk as these people. In my mind, that's what a true ally is.
Yes, me too. Yeah, I think so too. That actually is the answer I wish I had given for that question. That's actually what I talk about a lot personally when I'm talking with people, is how important that is. And, so I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so now what do we do about it, right? That's the overriding question always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm trying to figure that out more and more, and trying to amplify the voices of the other people who in the movement who are speaking up about these topics and have something to say. I think one social justice advocate and writer who does it really well is Christopher Sebastian. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I think he does a great job.
I was talking about him today.
Yeah, he does a great job. I've read more of him recently, and it's really eye-opening what all he has to say.
Well, I can't believe that we're almost at an hour already. What are some ways that people can find more about your work and get your new book?
The book is available on Amazon.com. It's available Vegan Essentials. The PETA catalog is carrying it. And it's available in your local independent bookstore. It should be. If it's not in stock, you can special order it from pretty much any bookstore. So you can go to local independent bookstores and get it. And I have a website, robinraven.com. It's being revamped, so it should be available again this week. So I blog there.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was so wonderful to talk to you.
This week, you heard
Bless This Morning Year by Helios.
Right now, you're listening to
Elegy by Tycho.
Every week, we tell you, go to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. It helps out the show, and it's free. All it takes is your time. And every week, a good majority of you don't do it. So, please consider it this week. Go help us out. Go give us a rating and review on whatever podcast aggregator you're using. iTunes is the most popular, but we're on all of them that we know of. And if we're not on one, drop us a line. We'll get on it.
And by getting it on, you should get on the internet and click on your favorite social media program, application.
Foursquare.
Yeah. And follow us. Be our friend. Like us.
If you follow us on Foursquare, I will give you a high five because I didn't know we were on there.
We aren't. But I don't know what Foursquare is or does.
Is it even around anymore?
Thing?
Was that?
Not a check-in thing? Check into locations?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not down with this social media stuff.
You can check into the Which Side Podcast studio. So be our friend on social media. Go to whichsidepodcast.com, click on the social tab, and be our friend. Like us. We promise to respond to most, if not all, messages that we receive.
And by most, we mean greater than 1%.
Yeah.
That's what most means, right?
Mostly. Talk shit down.
What he said.
Which Side Podcast is hosted and produced by Jordan Halliday and Jeremy Parkin of the Which Side Media Collective, with web design by Jordan Halliday and sound design by Jeremy Parkin. Booking by Mari Halliday. Theme music by Commandantes. Go to whichsidecollective.org to check out the other shows in the collective. As always, fuck shit damn.